Why, hello there, everybody. Welcome back. It is now time for the Overwatch League Season 4 playoffs. Play-ins beginning tomorrow. But for that, though, we do have confirmation. Overwatch League Season number 5 will occur in Overwatch 2. Overwatch 2 releasing in 2022 before April because OWL Season 5 starts in April. And Blizzard has said that it's going to be being played on Overwatch 2. That means 5v5. That means more characters. That means that, really everything changes. An entire role is going to be essentially gone. So it's going to be fascinating to see how that affects, team compositions and the meta going forward, because obviously it's going to affect it quite a bit. I'm not going to spend a lot of time in this video talking about it because I would just talk and talk and talk. I have my own feelings about, 5v5. But me ranting on here for 20 minutes, one things I like about it and things I don't like is not going to change it. So we'll save that for another video, probably over this off season, as we start to get closer and more things get confirmed. Because right now we have, this is it, the final Overwatch League, final pro tier event on Overwatch 1 with 2 tanks, 6v6. So who is going to be the champs in Season 4? Do we get a new champion? Does San Francisco pull off the three-peat? We're going to find out. But we will be going through the play-ins right now. I'm going to go through who I think is going to win, of course, in each match. There's going to be some guesswork, of course, because the Shock and the Outlaws choose their opponent. It's not a linear system where the winner of Paris and Washington automatically plays San Francisco. San Francisco will get the first choice of the winner of these 2 matchups. And then the Outlaws will get the remaining team. And then in the East, it is quite linear as there's only 3 teams. So, 2 teams play. The winner gets the 3 seeds. So we are going to jump into it without further ado. We're going to go into the East first, where we got the Hangzhou Spark taking on the Philadelphia Fusion. So if you look at record, if you look at recent performance, historical performance, if you want to put, contextualize that, Fusion are the clear favorite here. These are 2 teams that have been up and down. They've had inconsistencies. They haven't really had any big form of success this season. But they're 2 teams that could be dangerous. They have talented rosters. Like I said, they've had spurts where they've played very well. It's just being that consistency, winning that big match, taking the next step forward is something that they just have not done quite yet. So I'm taking Philadelphia here. I trust them a bit more, even though I don't fully trust either of these teams. Their play has been trending more up than than the Spark or really any other team right now. So I like them. I think probably pretty close. I expect Spark probably take a map. But I do think that they will clinch their spot in their potential final match against the Dynasty. So I'm guessing that it's Philadelphia versus Seoul. This is a really close one. These teams have had multiple very close matches this season, and in years past. Very much like the Spark, the Spark, these are all 3 of these franchises are ones that have had, great success in spots, but have never pushed across the top. Seoul had a really nice run end of last year, but just couldn't quite pull it off in the end. Philadelphia, we talked about, the sheer amount of their second places, whether it was Season 1 in the grand finals taking second, or the, 2 or 3 stage finals where they just barely lost. They lost to Paris the one year, had a couple of close losses to San Francisco, of course. They made the Final 4 last year, but then just got brutalized, in both of their matches there. So, this is a team that hasn't quite pushed through. I'm taking the Dynasty here. It's tough, there's a little bit of a bitter taste in the mouth after Seoul got just pretty much dominated in the Countdown Cup. But they did make it there, and Philadelphia did not beat them head to head to get into the Countdown Cup. So I'm gonna go against my general grain of, well, if there's two pretty good teams, evenly matched, and one team wins, the next time they play, I'm gonna flip. I think Seoul is just a little bit better here. I think it's 3-2. I'd see it being very close. Even if it's 3-1 or even a 3-0, I could see it being three close maps. It's gonna be whichever team does just a couple of the little things better. And who we do have a little bit of a different meta, as there is no hero bans, so that's going to change things a bit. With more important, probably most importantly, is Lucio being back. I don't see a lot of the other changes being. Well, we'll see about Ashe. Ashe could be quite important as well. And prevalence of double shields could make its way back with with Sigma returning, but we'll see. In the end, though, for what it boils down to, me, I trust Dynasty's team a little bit more, so I will take the 3 seed to win that one and punch their ticket into the main playoffs. And then we go to the West, where I think it gets quite interesting with Paris Eternal taking out Washington Justice. So we got 8 seed and 6 seed over here. We've talked about these teams a lot this season. Paris have been a bit of a pleasant surprise. Washington has looked very good and then very, very bad. Depending on the day. This is a Washington team that had a pretty disastrous start to season 3, and then had that Cinderella run, as I believe they were the 12 seed. They're 11 or 12 seed. And they won 4 matches, in the playoffs and nearly made it to the Final Four. They lost to Philly to get kicked out, but they were the last team that missed out on the Final Four. So it was a really nice run for them. We talk about the players they have, Fury, Decay, of course. Assassin, they got Jerry on the, that comes off the bench as well. Mag, has been a really, really good addition on the main tank, but this team has never really put it together. And Paris, I feel like Paris is more put together as a team. They're a better team right now. Washington is better if you take player to player and just match them up. I don't think you could contest that Washington is significantly better, hero to hero. But Paris, they've really melded and gelled as a unit in spots. It's a close one for me. I take Justice, though. Even with them not having the best coordination, the best synergy, they have enough raw skill to beat a lot of teams that aren't towards the top. And this is a fascinating matchup for me. It's really my dream matchup of of these teams, of these bottom 4 of the play-in teams, because for me it's the best coordinating team of the weaker teams against probably the worst coordinating team. But like I said, it's all about the pop-off potential. This isn't GOATs. Their DPS has more ability to carry at this point, and main tanks, have much more ability to carry at this point in the meta and just in the state that Overwatch is in. So again, it's really close. I think this one will be super entertaining, but I got Justice. I just don't see them losing their first match. Maybe it's too much influence from last year's, kind of Cinderella run. But, hero pools opening up a little bit, I think helps them. Paris has a couple of, niche things, and I feel like if they do pull out some of those comps, that Justice can just go to something that we know is good, and just kind of roll. So I wouldn't be surprised either way in this one, but push comes to shove, I got Justice, let's say 3-1. And then you got Boston Uprising taking on Toronto Defiant. So I think it's funny, if Washington played either Boston or Toronto, I would favor them. If Paris played Uprising or Toronto, I would favor Paris. So I think it's the 2 better teams facing off, and then the 2 weaker teams facing off. Boston kind of limped to the finish line. I started kind of hyping them up towards beginning of end of the Summer Showdown and the beginning of the Countdown Cup. But it didn't come together for them. A couple of kind of pretty rough losses to end the season for them. So I got Toronto here. again, they've felt like the ultimate gatekeeper in the West. You know, if you were a good team, you beat Toronto. If you were a not very good team, you lost to Toronto. And the state that Boston's in right now, I just don't quite have the confidence for them. I don't think getting Lucio back, getting Sigma back, Ash and Echo, I don't foresee them being a big enough addition to Boston's, lineup and strategy to give them a significant boost. You know what I mean? I don't think that, okay, Lucio's now in the pool. They're going to send around Lucio comps and be very good at it. I don't think this is going to drastically, increase their performance. And if that is the case, I think they'll put up an okay fight. But I'm going to give it to Toronto. I don't predict enough 3-0s, so I'm going to say 3-0 with a couple of, I say first two maps in particular are close. Boston gives them a fight, but Toronto's just a little bit better. Alt usage is just a bit cleaner, communication a bit more consistent. A couple more big plays from, certain roles. And Toronto will kind of just snowball that, win a couple of close ones, and then maybe open it up and win the third one a little bit more easily. But either way, I do think that Toronto, they're a solid team, and I think that they're going to be a good test for the Shock or the Outlaws. So going into that, I do have the two higher seeds winning, number 6 in Justice and number 7 in Defiant. So San Francisco gets first pick. And between the Defiant and the Justice, that's a tough one. I think they picked the Justice. And this might be a little bit of a tougher team on paper, but I think for good teams, the Washington is a little bit more exploitable. Maybe they're a little bit of a more scary opponent, but with Shock's style and, with their personality, I see them picking the Justice because they want to beat them. And I think they will. I think they'll get it done. I think they sweep them. I think it's a 3-0. No miracle run for Justice this time. I don't see them getting into the playoffs. I can't see Shock losing. Honestly, I can't see Shock losing to any of the 4 teams that they could possibly play against. Have they fallen off a bit this year? Yes. Are they that dominant world beater? No. But are they still a very good team that has been very close to making several tournaments and it was tied for the best regular season record in the league? Yes. So this is not a team to underestimate. This isn't a completely washed team. I think this is a team that's still trying to truly find their stride. I think that they've played well in a lot of different moments, but you have Striker retire, you have Ons come back in, they've had Glister in and out and in and out and in and out. So I think that they've taken the last couple of weeks to really lock in, whether they roll with, keep that rotation going on, or if they, more use Glister or Ons consistently. I think either way, they're going to be at their best right now. Nero has impressed me the last couple of matches, and he was a guy I was not super high on coming into this season. But he's been their most consistent DPS over the course of the season. And the tank line and support line is still nuts. Look for the support line to carry them into the overall playoffs. And yeah, it's just going to be a coaching and a team diff in that one, I think, with Shock making it to the playoffs, giving themselves a chance to defend that title. And then that would mean that Houston is left with Toronto. And again, this is a scary one if you're an Outlaw fan, I feel like, because it's a match that feels completely centered on the Outlaws. They're a team that has looked very, very good in spots. And they've looked really, really bad in spots, almost similar to the Justice. Obviously their record is better, overall they've been better than Justice as a whole, but they've had the dips and the it's just, it's a heartbeat. It's a roller coaster. You don't really know week to week, they put themselves in a good position to make the play-ins, and then they get 3-0'd by Gladiators, and there's no shame in losing to the Countdown Cup champs, by the way. But sorry, I had to sneak that in there. But to lose in the fashion that they did, and if you lose 3-2 there, you're in. You make the play-ins instead of Dallas. If you take a couple of maps, then you're in, and they just pretty much got slammed. So I'm going to I'm going to very hesitantly pick Houston here. I think it's a 3-1. Again, if Houston plays well, if they play their game, if they play clean, they're better than Toronto, and they will win. If they have just these sloppy 3 fights in a row, just a really bad map or a very bad half of a map where their ults aren't coordinated and it looks like they're not communicating with each other and they can't really decide which comp they want to go with, then they could be in deep trouble. I think that more and more Jake play on support has really limited them. And I feel like one of the biggest things for the Countdown Cup with the Gladiators was they could put Scoot on the Mercy if they needed to, but he could also play the Brig, a lot, which is his predominant role. But then he can play Zenyatta too. He's a really good Zen player because he's a flex support. Somebody like Jake can't go in, and just swap and give them value on an Ana or or a Moira or Bap even. He can give you value, especially not Lucio. He can give you value on Mercy and Brig, and that's it. So I think against some of the better teams in the league, that's going to be very scary for them. They might want to think about having a support line rotation in that case. But as long as they play their game, they've got Happy, they've got Dante, they've had this super solid team for most of the season. They're the tank line. The 2 rookies have played great. Piggy, and Jangu. So I'm gonna go with Houston here, but they're on upset alert as far as I'm concerned. I'm not super worried about Shock, but Outlaws, I could see them going down, and we could have one of our lower 4 seeds sneak into that overall playoffs. So those are the predictions. Let me know what you think down in the comments below, of course. You got any big upsets? You have Spark beating both these teams and making it in somehow. You think Paris will, the EU team will go on a big run, or you think Boston will pick it back up? Either way, I'm curious to see what you think. Remember, these, the winners of this will get thrown into the bracket here. It is, of course, like all of our tournaments, double elimination. Just more teams, of course, than all the other, the stage finals, like the Countdown Cup. Those had 4. This one's going to have 8. So Shanghai's going to pick somebody. Dallas is going to pick somebody. The other ones, we're going to see. Gladiators are going to get put with the remaining team. That's right, Hunters will pick as well. So it'll go Dragons will pick, then Dallas will pick, then Hunters will pick, and then Gladiators will get the remaining team, which means if Shock is in, they're probably going to get Shock in their first match. And then, of course, we do double elimination. It's just like Season 2 playoff format. We have our losers bracket. Remember, in Season 2, San Francisco went on their miraculous undefeated, just sweep through of the losers bracket before smacking Vancouver in the finals. So I'm super excited for this bracket with the playoffs. Way, way, way better than last season's format with the Final Four. This format is so hype. Season 2 was amazing with those playoffs. So we're gonna get some excellent Overwatch again. But as always, thank you very much for watching. Let me know what you think about, like I said, the predictions, as well as Overwatch 2 and the next season of Overwatch League, because we're getting it next year. We didn't know. There was a lot of uncertainty with recent news and the state of the game, and COVID, and where is Overwatch 2 and how's it moving along with its release schedule. But we have a little bit of we know a lot more now, and I think that's awesome. We're gonna obviously get a lot more after this season ends. But I'm just looking forward to some more Overwatch this week, and then after there's going to be a week break or 2-week break in between, and then we're going to have the grand finals leading up to on September 25th. So I'm super excited for that. But you guys have yourselves an excellent weekend. This week has flown by. But other than that, I will see you in the next one.